Want to buy a home in Boston this year and you're wondering when the price is going to drop or when the competition is going to die down? Well, in this video, I'm breaking down the best time to buy in Boston in 2025, month by month. We're going to let you know when to get the best price, when to avoid the bidding wars, where to look, and how to buy smart in this market. So whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to upgrade, you need to hear this. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mike O'Brien. If you're new here, I'm a Boston real estate agent and your guide to navigating the Boston market with confidence. Today's topic is when is the best time to buy in Boston in 2025. So in this video, we're going to cover some market trends. We're going to cover some monthly and seasonal strategies. We'll cover some neighborhood insights and how you can make the smartest move this year. Let's dive into it. Let's talk about the market here in Boston in 2025 because it's a bit of a transition year for sure, in that interest rates have stabilized and they are lower than they were last year, lower than they were in 2024, not as low as they were during the pandemic era. I don't think we'll ever see those twos, threes, I don't want to say ever again, but for a very long time. The best I think we can hope for, we've been hovering around 7, 6s coming through 2024 and into 2025. I think the best you can hope for in the maybe distant future, hopefully not too distant future, is to see that sneak down in the 5s, maybe 4s, a year or two now, but they are where they are right now. They're not going up and down like we saw during the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic. So they've normalized a little bit, which is good. And again, the question is not what the interest rate necessarily is, it's what does your monthly payment look like? And we'll get into that a little bit later in the video. But inventory is finally starting to creep up as well. The months of inventory starting to rise here in the Boston market. I think a lot of people were expecting, at least hoping, a big spike in inventory once the calendar flipped here from 2024 to 2025. That hasn't been the case, but you have seen more inventory now than compared to what you saw a year ago in 2024. So is it a huge flood of inventory into the market? Certainly not. Are you starting to see it creep up and rise in certain neighborhoods? Absolutely. So because of that, the buyer activity is starting to return. Bidding wars are still very prevalent. They're not as wild and not as hectic and competitive as they were during the pandemic era, but since the buyer activity is returning, and I would say that it started off very strong in 2025 in terms of buyer activity. Usually there's a lull in the home search and the interest coming out of the holidays, but the interest was there right from the get-go to start the new year, but the inventory hadn't necessarily caught up to that. So you are still seeing those bidding wars and competitive situations here in the start of 2025. So not as bad as it was a few years ago, but again, still competitive. So agents often get asked, when is the best time to buy? And the truth is there is no perfect time to buy. The perfect time is when is right for you and what works best with your life, the logistics, and everything that's going on. Now, that being said, we can take a look at some trends here in the Boston market and see when might be some better times to buy or when there might be some times that isn't so great to buy or aren't so great to buy. But the truth is there is no perfect time. But when you start to take a look at the data a little bit, you can see that there are stretches of the calendar year or certain instances or times during the calendar year where maybe there could be some more opportunity or better opportunity for buyers out there. So let's head to the data and show you what's been going on here to start 2025, especially as it compares to 2024. So again, when is the best time to buy? No perfect time to buy. But again, looking at the active listing count here in Boston, you have more inventory than last year. You have, this kind of follows the trend of what you expect during the real estate market, real estate calendar year. Slow coming out of the new year, big spikes during the spring market, back down during the summer, up after the Labor Day holiday comes and goes, and then back down during the holidays. So again, I would tell my buyers, when is the perfect time? Keep your eye open all the time. I can't tell you how many buyers I had close at the end of a calendar year, November, December, because again, people are distracted. They're not necessarily looking. And even though there might be lower inventory, some of these active listings, they last into November, December. And when people aren't looking because they're thinking about Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, the holidays, what have you, you don't need to close on the holidays. But if you can find the home you want during the holidays or soon after New Year or during the summer, when people are thinking about other things, just keep that search going at all times, because it's when other people are distracted and you have your eye on the prize that you should be able to find success. So where are the deals in Boston in 2025? Well, I mean, if you're talking about neighborhoods like Back Bay, Beacon Hill, South End to an extent, or even South E, where you've seen a lot of developments, maybe you're not seeing the deals there. But in terms of some neighborhoods where you are seeing the sold price either right at or below the list price, there are a couple of neighborhoods that stand out. And so we'll start in East Boston, where there's been a lot of new development, rising home values with all that development that has happened down there, especially in Jeffreys Point, and kind of working more inland back from the waterfront there. If you want to check that out, have a video that you can see East Boston. We go on a tour, so check that out if you'd like to. But East Boston, definitely an area and a neighborhood or section of Boston where the new development and rising values, you can still have some opportunity there in terms of not getting blown out of the water when it comes to sold price versus list price. Dorchester, larger homes, more value pricing, a lot of variety between single family homes, condos, townhomes, and multifamily properties. So that's an area to look at. Let's talk about Jamaica Plain. Inventory there is a little tight, but great community vibe, less bidding wars, I would say. But again, just because the sold price is right at or below the list price, both in the single family and condominium markets. Brighton, Alston, great opportunity for investors, first-time home buyers. Again, especially in the condo market there, that list price or that sold price average well below the list price, and you can find deals as relative to the prices in the multifamily and investment property markets as well. And finally, I want to wrap it up with Roxbury, just to mention that because major long-term growth potential. It's one of those neighborhoods that you get in now, you find that home now, you find that investment property now. That is an area that many predict to be growing more in value as the years go along. I guess a higher rate of appreciation. So a couple neighborhoods quickly to check out. So now that you know some of the markets where you might be able to have some more opportunity and success as it comes to pricing and quote unquote deals, let's talk about the competition and how many buyers are out there in 2025. And the Boston market has still been challenging to begin the new year. And we talked about it earlier where the interest in the home searches didn't necessarily lull to start 2025, but the inventory did. And so usually you see the lull in the home search and the inventory, and it really picks up in the spring market. People were ready to go to start here in the new year. And so as the inventory hasn't necessarily matched that, the sense of FOMO is real. And so a lot of people are out there and getting after it in terms of the home search. You're still seeing a lot of multiple offer situations and competitive offer situations here to start 2025. So usually I'd say in the spring market you would see, and you will see this, but right now you're still seeing for quality properties in hot areas, you're still seeing 15, 20 buyers out there trying to get their offer accepted. I've been a part of some competitive situations here to start 2025 where, we've been one of 12, 17, whatever it is, trying to get our offer accepted. So that's probably going to stay strong during the spring as well. I'd be surprised if it didn't, but we were kind of in an early spring market, continuing in the spring market. So the competition is here in the first couple months of 2025, maybe more the first 6 months of 2025. In the summer, fall, that should drop. I'm not sure if you're going to get down to 5 or fewer, but you should see that competition drop. You also see some price cuts on homes that have sat on the market too long. You really see that during the summer when things that were on the spring market or trying to catch the tail in the spring market don't quite get there, and then people get distracted during the summer, and all of a sudden you start to see the number of homes with the price reductions increase. So you also see more price cuts during the summer months. And then again, during the holidays, that is the least competitive time, and just by nature of the way the calendar works. So I go back to it. I'm going to talk about it again and again and again. Keep that home search going throughout the full time of the calendar year. Don't put it on pause because if you don't have to, because as soon as you stop looking, that might be the opportunity missed. So it is very competitive here to start 2025. And it's going to probably continue to be competitive as we go through the spring market, but hopefully we see that competition start to take a dip as we get through the summer into the fall and the holidays. Shall we talk about the interest rates? Let's get into it. Rates are still, in theory, volatile. Most experts are expecting small shifts, not major drops. So if you've been following the market, if you've been following the rates as they've been going up and down, they haven't been going up and down too much. Again, through the pandemic, that big drop down to 2 to 3%, and soon after the pandemic, that big rise up to 7 and almost 8%. So you're not seeing these spikes up and down. You're seeing kind of smaller shifts as the days, weeks, and months move along. So what should you do? Should you lock in? Should you wait? And again, this goes back to what makes sense for you. And people can talk about the rates for days, but you need to find out what your monthly payment is. And that gets into pre-approval a little bit. So listen, if we're in the 6s and 7s, depending on the day. If you're able to get down to a 5, yeah, lock in for sure. I don't think we're going to see that for a little bit. But of course, when you have a low rate and you have an opportunity to lock in at less, do so. But don't wait for that magical rate that you think is going to come along, be it 4 or 3. Those days are either far in the rearview mirror or they're far over the horizon as of right now. You can always refinance later. The rate you lock in right now or whenever that home purchase happens is not the rate you're necessarily going to have for the lifetime of your financing, a lifetime of your mortgage. You can always refinance later. You can't go back and get a house that's already been sold for perhaps a price that would have made sense at the time. So talk to your lender about buy down rates, talk to them about refinancing. What does that look like? Most importantly, talk to them about what your monthly payment likes, because 7%, 6%, that's all well and good, but what are you paying on your mortgage per month? That is the figure that's going to matter most to you and your budget. Now, what if you're a first-time home buyer? Well, this could be your year for sure. 2025 could be the year that you find your home, but preparation is everything. We've talked about pre-approval already. That is the first thing you need to do. People who go out on their home search and start taking a look at properties or homes and don't have their pre-approval are just not setting themselves up for success. It's not a good recipe, because without your pre-approval, you don't know what you can afford. So you don't know what you can look for, where you can look for it. You don't know what your monthly payment's going to look like. That's the most important number in this home search, in my opinion, because you need to know what works with your budget. And I can't tell you how many times I've had people go out on their home search, they haven't gotten their pre-approval, they don't know if they can even afford the home they're looking for. And on top of that, if they love the home and they don't have their pre-approval, usually there's an offer deadline in this market right now. You're not going to be able to get your financing likely in order, that pre-approval in time. You're missing the offer deadline. You miss out on a home that you love and could have potentially had if you just prepared ahead of time. So make sure you get that pre-approval. It is the first step. It is the most important step. So go get it done. On top of that, make sure you're looking into first-time home buyer programs. Mass Housing here in Massachusetts, FHA loans. These programs, Mass Housing, first-time home buyer grants that can assist with down payment assistance or renovation or rehab of the homes. Great programs here in Massachusetts. If you're a first-time home buyer and you're at least not exploring them to see if you qualify, you're doing yourself a disservice. So check those out. Also, be flexible on location to avoid bidding wars. I think about to a client I had looking in the South End. And South End is one of the pricier and more competitive neighborhoods in Boston. But if you go right across Mass Ave is Lower Roxbury. And it's just a lower price point there. But a lot of the homes right on the border, very similar to what you would see in the South End. So a little flexible in location and just a block away from the South End, she was able to get a South End property at Lower Roxbury prices. And so if you could be a little flexible on your location, I think back to another client who was looking in Dedham, West Roxbury initially, but the single family opportunity wasn't necessarily there in West Roxbury, but they went right across the town line to Dedham and they're finding a beautiful newly renovated single family home and get an offer accepted without any competition, inspection included, all the good things. So if you can be a little flexible in location, you can find success in that you can maybe avoid the bidding wars. Also, consider homes with cosmetic updates, not structural updates, renovation, repairs, but homes that, and they don't need to be complete fixer-uppers, but maybe you're really set on air conditioning. Well, I think of a client right now that is really set on air conditioning, but what if you found a home that is in pretty good shape, but it just needs to have a mini split system installed? So maybe you can find a home that's not being looked at by as many buyers or has been sitting on the market a little bit and it's ready to go, but if you install that mini split system or install the HVAC, you might be able to find success again. So also maybe consider homes with cosmetic updates, not structural issues for sure. That's a lot of work, absolutely. And when I say cosmetic updates, it doesn't need to be a complete gut job or fixer upper or any of that, but some of these homes that need a little love are often cheaper and perhaps overlooked. So if you can find a home that has most everything you need or most everything you are looking for, and maybe it's just, the kitchen cabinets need to be updated, or listen, it doesn't have HVAC, but we can install a mini split system, whatever it is. Just be sure you're looking at all your options when it comes to the homes, because if you can be a little flexible, not only location, but with some of the things that need to be done to the home or you'd like to be done in the home, you might be able to find something cheaper and maybe not succumbing to the multiple offer and supremely or extremely competitive situation. All right, let's talk about some buyer strategies here for 2025 to get that offer accepted, to buy that home, because you want to win that home. You want to win that offer. You want to get the offer accepted without overpaying. So how do you go about that? Well, first off, you want to write a strong, clean offer, but without the emotional overpaying. And that is a tall ask sometimes because you find that perfect home and there's multiple offers, there's competition, and the temptation is just throw as much money at the offer price as possible. But these situations, they lend to a lack of reason at times, just because buying a home and going through the home search and trying to get an offer accepted can be such an emotional thing. Absolutely. And understandably. But again, you want to work with your agent to go through the market data, see what the comparables are, do the analysis. So to make sure that whatever offer you're putting in, whether it's above list price or not, makes sense with not only your mortgage, your monthly payment, your budget, but what the market dictates as well. So writing strong, clean offers. Again, clean offers are the preference here in this market as many others. So that's waiving contingencies. I'm sure you've heard a lot about that, but you need to do what makes sense for you. Of course, strong, clean offers are the preference, but again, you need to write the offer that makes sense for you and hopefully get it accepted. Now, you can also not wait until the weekend to take a look at that property. And I know it's easy to go to those open houses on the weekend or do those showings on the weekend because that's when you're available. But if you can get in there early during the week, maybe soon after that home goes on the market and you love it, you get an offer in early, maybe you can get the seller to accept that offer and then it's off the market before the weekend and you're not dealing with the competition from that. There's not a lot of incentive right now for sellers to not go through that weekend of open houses or weekend of showings because they do like the multiple offers. They do like the competition, and understandably so. But if you can get in there early and get that offer accepted and avoid the competition, then you're not overpaying. Also, make sure you're watching the market data daily. Weekly, not just monthly, but often, weekly or daily. And to that end, you should be working with an agent who knows how to crunch that data, who is able to know which homes have been sitting on the market longer and which areas are heating up. So again, they should be able to take that data, do the analysis, and show you where the best opportunities to get that offer accepted should be. So make sure you're keeping track of the data, but also working with a knowledgeable agent who can help crunch that data to its fullest. So after all this advice, guidance, analysis, the question now is now the right time to buy for you, or should you wait? Is it time to buy in 2025, or should we wait for further down the road? And at the end of the day, waiting is not going to give you better pricing necessarily. Why? Because home prices go up year after year after year. Now, they may go like this within the year, but that trend line is always going up. So prices in 2026 are going to be more than the average home price in 2025. The average home price in 2025 is higher than it was in 2024, and so on, 2024 to 2023, and all the way back. Prices go up. So you may be waiting for that perfect rate, or you think that by waiting that the prices are going to be better. They're not. In 2026, average prices are going to be more than they are this year. Also, inventory is climbing now. It hasn't climbed as fast as we'd like to begin the year, but it is climbing and it is rising. So as inventory rises, opportunity is there in 2025. And we don't know what's going to happen in 2026. Maybe inventory tightens back up, but you can see the trend line as it's going through 2025 now. And so why wait if the inventory is growing here in this calendar year? Plus, you can start building equity now, even if it's at a higher rate. Again, you think by waiting for the rate to be 6 instead of 6.5 that you're going to be saving money, but long run, the equity you build in your home now at this moment is going to be more than the money you're in theory saving on that 0.1, 0.2% difference in the mortgage rate, even up to a full point. You're not saving that much on a monthly basis when you compare it to the equity you're building in your home. So you can build that equity immediately, even if it's a slightly higher rate. And guess what? You can refinance at a lower rate somewhere down the line. So the perfect home with the perfect price, with the perfect rate, does not exist. If you're waiting for the planets to align, if you're waiting for the trade winds to be blowing just perfectly, they never do, and they never will. When the perfect home search and when to buy the perfect home is whatever makes sense for you. So if you're ready financially, 2025 offers more opportunity. This is true. 2025 is offering more opportunity in the housing market and the home search here in the Boston market than it has in years. Think about that. Through the pandemic and the crunch in inventory, 2025 has more opportunity than we have seen in literally years. So clearly, opportunity abound here in Boston in 2025. So you think about buying a home here in Boston this year? Well, now you know when might be some of the best times of the year to have success in your home search, where to look, where some more opportunities might produce success, and strategies for your offer to get it accepted. So are you thinking about making a move? Well, why don't you DM me? You can find me on Instagram at Mike O'Brien Homes. You can email me directly at mikeobrienhomes@gmail.com, and I will help put together a strategy on the home search specifically tailored to you. So want more guides like this? Make sure you check out my buyer tips playlist and Boston neighborhood tours right here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell for my weekly Boston real estate insights and videos. I want to thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.